العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ومن لم يجعل الله له نورا فما له من نور. ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وإن شر الأمور محدثاتها وإن كل محدثة بدعة وإن كل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters in Islam, we're still continuing the long chain of talks about raising children, but while we are addressing raising children, we are also going to talk about other aspects in our religion that are so important for our day-to-day life that also have impact on our children. And the topic that I would like to talk about today, and if I'm here next week, I will probably continue the second part of it to clarify certain concepts. It's the importance of dua, the importance of dua, the importance of supplication, the importance of invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of praying to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, asking Him. And a dua can be a source of great blessings and great protection to the human being that can save him from so many problems in life. And it can also be a source of major problems and catastrophe to a person. When would dua become a source of major problems for you or for me? This is when we oppress somebody. When you oppress someone, whether this person is Muslim or non-Muslim, and that person makes dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to punish you, to do something really bad for you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala never lets down the call of the oppressed. Never. Never lets down the call, the supplication of the oppressed. Even if the oppressed person is non-Muslim, and he looks up and asks for the creator of the heavens and the earth, he might not know his name, what his name is. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shall punish the oppressor. So be careful that no one would make dua against you. And dua can be a great blessing for you when you make the dua. When you make the dua for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect you, to protect your children, to safeguard you, to guide you. Dua can be a source of a catastrophe for you. Also, if it comes against you from one of your parents. If you make one of your parents so angry, you behave so badly, to the extent that the parent behaves in a way which is not usual for him or for her, and makes dua against you, be careful. Allah might accept that dua and you will see yourself falling in a serious problem. And this is going to be the story that we are going to talk about today. how someone got into a deep trouble because his mother made dua against him. Before going to that story, I would like to mention that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us, and when I say us, I'm talking about all of us as children. We are all children to our parents. We all have parents, whether our parents are alive or dead. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala orders us, children, to make dua for our parents, whether our parents are alive or dead. Remember, our topic today is the importance of dua. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Isra, chapter 17, verses 23 and 24. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وقضى ربك ألا تعبدوا إلا إياه وبالوالدين إحسانا إما يبلغن عندك الكبر أحدهما أو كلاهما فلا تقل لهما أف ولا تنهرهما وقل لهما قولا كريما واخفض لهما جناح الذل من الرحمة وقل رب ارحمهما كما ربياني صغيرا. And your Lord has decreed that you not worship except Him, and to parents good treatment and kindness, and to parents good treatment and kindness, whether one or both of them reach old age while with you. Say not to them so much as oof. Say not to them so much as oof. And do not repel them, but speak to them a noble word. Say not to them, not even oof. Oof in Arabic is an expression which means that the person is just fed up. When you say to someone, oof, means that you're telling him, I'm just so fed up with you. You're not saying in words, on long words, you're just saying, oof. Not even that. The Quran is telling us, don't even say that to your parents. And how then do you deal with them? How do you treat them? Look at the expression of the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy. And lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy. And say, my Lord, have mercy upon them, as they brought me up when I was small. What does it mean? Lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy. It means be so kind and lenient and merciful to them, to the extent that if a stranger is watching you, he will think that you are even humiliating yourself in order to gain their pleasure. This is what the expression in Arabic which says, وَاخْفِضْ لَهُمَا جَنَاحَ الذُّلِّ مِنَ الرَّحْمَةِ, and lower to them the wing of humility out of mercy. Meaning, be so kind to them, to the extent that if a stranger is looking at you, he will think that you are humiliating yourself in order to gain their pleasure. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and say, this is where we talk about our subject today, dua. We always need to make dua for our parents. Don't forget that. Let this be one of the actions that we all go home with today. Every one of us, let him try to be determined now to make dua for his parents in every one of his prayers. Let us, if we do not come out today with anything more than this, that would be the greatest thing. Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and say, make a supplication to Allah, my Lord, have mercy upon them, as brought me up when I was young. And remember, when you do that to your parents, inshallah, your children are going to do that too. When you're old, and when you're weak, and when you need your children, they will be lowering to you the wing of. They will be lowering to you. Let me see the expression is. They will be lowering to you the wing of humility out of mercy. They will be lowering to you the wing of humility out of mercy. What I want to talk about today is also the danger of parents making dua against their children. The danger of parents making dua against their children, and they should avoid doing that, particularly when they are angry. And we particularly should draw the attention of mothers, women, because women are more emotional. They are more emotional. And a mother might lose her temper in a moment, and she might make dua against her child, and her dua might be accepted, and her child would be hit exactly what she made dua against him or her. Listen to the story. This is the story of a person called Jurayj. He used to be one of the worshippers during the old times of the people of Israel. May I ask you please to come forward? I'm seeing some people already standing up, and we haven't, still have a long ways to go. May Allah reward you, inshallah. Just come forward so that people outside will find space. Jazakumullah khair. The lions in the back, please come forward. Now the lions in the front have come forward. Jazakumullah khair. May Allah accept this, and may Allah record this for you as credits, hasanat, that you will see in the day of judgment. Inshallah. This small movement, you never know. It might be what will tip your balance and enter you to Al-Jannah, inshallah. This person, this worshipper, Jurayj, used to be during the old times of the people of Israel. And he wanted to seclude himself for the worship of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so he built for himself a silo or a small cottage way out of town, away from the people, so that he would just be doing nothing in life but worship and worship and worship, dedicating his entire life to worship. I want to say here that there is a big difference in the concept of worship in Islam as compared to the old times. The concept of worship in Islam covers every single thing we do in life. You know this 1 foot of movement that you moved here, just 1 foot of movement that you made here today to make space for one of your brothers or sisters behind? This is worship to Allah. Every act that would please Allah, any act or move or look or thinking that would please Allah, it is considered to be an act of worship in Islam. The acts of worship in Islam do not only cover prayer, but they cover every aspect of life. Let's see what happened to this man, Jurayj. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه. This hadith is in Al-Bukhari wa Muslim. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم قال: لم يتكلم في المهد إلا ثلاثة. Abu Hurairah reports that he heard Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam saying that only 3 children talked when they were just newly born infants. Only 3 children. And the beginning, the first part of this hadith, which I'm addressing, mentions 2 of them. The first one is Prophet Isa, Jesus, Isa ibn Maryam. And the second one is a little child who is one of the heroes of the hadith that we are talking about today. And then the hadith says, وَكَانَ جُرَيْجٌ رَجُلًا عَابِدًا فَاتَّخَذَ صَوْمَعًا. Jurayj was a worshipper, so he secluded himself in a small cottage or silo. And every day his mother used to come to him and she would say, Jurayj! She would call him, and then he would look up, maybe from the window of his cottage, and he would talk to his mother. She would see what she wants, and then she would go back. Every day his mother would come to see him. فأتته أمه وهو يصلي. One day his mother came to him while he was praying, and it is understood that this must have been a voluntary prayer. This must have been a voluntary prayer. Sunnah. تطوع. فقالت يا جريج. فقال يا رب أمي وصلاتي. She said, one day she came and said, Jurayj! Jurayj was praying, and now he was thinking to himself, should I answer my mother or should I continue prayer? Now he was thinking, what's the priority? Then he decided that he will continue prayer, and he continued to pray. Remember, his name is Jurayj al-Abid. His name is Jurayj, the worshipper. Not Jurayj, the scholar. Not Jurayj al-Alim. Because we will see later on when he made a mistake. فأقبل على صلاته. He continued to pray. فانصرفت. She gave up on him, praying for a long time. She gave up on him, and then she went back. فلما كان في الغد أتته وهو يصلي. And then the next day she came back to him. Jurayj! Calling him. He was praying. The same thing. فقال يا رب أمي وصلاتي فأقبل على صلاتي. Started to think, should I answer my mother or should I continue praying? He judged that he should continue praying. فانصرفت. His mother waited for a long time. He did not answer her. Continued praying. She went back. فلما كان من الغد أتته وهو يصلي. And the third day, she came. Jurayj! Calling him. He was praying. فقال أي رب أمي وصلاتي فأقبل على صلاتي. Then he said to himself while praying, should I answer my mother or should I continue praying? He made the judgment that he should continue praying. His mother stayed instead until she gave up on him. And then here where the mother got angry. Here where the mother lost her temper and she made dua against him, against her son. And the dua, it's a quite strange dua. By our standards today, the dua that she made is a very strange dua. You know what the dua that she made? She said, in a moment of anger, she said to him, may Allah not make you die until you see the faces of the prostitutes. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. She made dua that her son, Jurayj, would not die until he would be made to see the faces, only just the faces of the prostitutes. And it looks like there were so many prostitutes at that time amongst the people of Israel at that time. فتذاكر بنو إسرائيل جريجا وعبادته. We are going to explain this, inshallah. During that time, there was a group of bad people amongst the people of Israel who were always talking about the virtue of that virtuous person, of that righteous person. They are out there with the prostitutes and committing all kinds of sins. And here is there a worshipper. When there is a righteous person, when anyone makes a comparison, it will make them look bad And these bad people are envious people. So they decided, in order for them to continue to look normal, they need to eliminate that virtue. The only way for them to continue to look normal people with the sins and vices that they were doing is to get that virtuous person in trouble and to get him their way. There was a prostitute amongst them, and who was so pretty. She volunteered. She said, you know, I'll take care of her. I'll take care of her. And I will go, and I will seduce him, and I will make him commit fornication, zina with me. They said, well, do if you can. So she went. Now we need to remember that just a while ago, the mother had made dua against the son. And those people had always been making that same plot. Always. Always. They were always making plots to pull that virtuous person in the sin, to get him in trouble, always. But their evil was not reaching him. After the mother made the dua, their evil reached him. So the mother, that woman, went to Juraj and tried to seduce him. He did not pay attention to her. Tried in every way to pull him to the sin. He did not pay attention to her. So she got so angry and decided to get him in trouble no matter what is needed to do that. So she went to a shepherd who used to sleep in the cottage in the silo of Juraj. There was a shepherd who used to sleep there at night. She went to that shepherd and she got that shepherd to sleep with her. And she got pregnant from him. And one day she delivered that boy, and then she went and told the people, look, I succeeded in what I had told you. Juraj slept with me and this is his child. Now, the people of town said, this man is cheating us. He is pretending to be a righteous man, and now he goes and does that. So they went to him and dragged him down from his silo, from his cottage, and started beating him up. And he said, what's the matter? Why are you doing this? They said, you have committed zina, fornication with this woman, and this is your child. And they demolished his silo. They demolished his cottage and started beating him up. And then when he was faced with this accusation, can you imagine? I mean, this would just destroy him. This is the end. If something happens to a righteous man like this, it's the end. It's the biggest catastrophe that can happen to a person of that nature. It's the end. In that moment, he decided that he needed to resort to Allah. So he said to them, okay, just leave me pray. And he went into prayer and started to make supplication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then he went to that child, newly born child, and he pressed his stomach with his finger, and he said to him, who is your father? He spoke to that infant. He said to him, who is your father? The infant said, my father is the shepherd. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this hadith remembers in Bukhari or Muslim. So you could not have a more correct hadith than this, a more authentic hadith than this. And then when the people heard that the child said that, of course, they felt so sorry for what they had done. Now, it's not the group of bad people who had made the plot against him, but the other people who were good. So they started to apologize to him and kiss his hands and ask him to forgive them. And they said to him, look, we will rebuild your silo, your cottage from gold. He said no. They said, okay, from silver. They said no. He said no. Just rebuild it back from clay. Just rebuild it back from clay. And that's what they did. Now, let us analyze what happened. What happened here is that Allah was protecting Jurayj from so many evils because of his mother's pleasure with him. His mother was pleased with him, and she must have been always making dua for him. And those people, the bad people, the people of Israel, were always plotting against him, but the plots were not reaching him. There is a hadith by Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, which I will talk about next Friday, inshallah, if I am here, where Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says that ad-du'a yaruddu al-qada, meaning that the decrees that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has commanded could be prevented with dua. The bad events that Allah has decreed and written down, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has also written down that those could also be lifted with dua. So the plots that the people of Israel were making against that righteous person were always being lifted by the dua of his mother. When his mother got angry with him, Allah left Jurayj to handle people on his own without that additional layer of protection, and that's where he was hit. أقول قولي هذا أستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. I say this and I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for forgiveness. Seek His forgiveness. He is the all forgiving, all merciful. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. Inshallah, we will continue to talk about this subject if I'm here next Friday, but I want to alert you to one thing. Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has ordered us in his hadith not to ever make dua against our children. Jurayj's mother definitely made a big mistake. Jurayj's mother definitely made a big mistake by making that dua against her son. Now, what kind of dua is this? When she makes dua that her son would not die until he sees the faces of prostitutes, what does this mean? When you are angry and you want to make dua that the person hears, which would make him angry, you would say something that he would never want to happen to him. You would ask Allah for that something happens to this person that you know this person wants this never to happen to him. Jurayj was a righteous person. There were so many prostitutes during that time, and Jurayj was a righteous person, was always lowering his gaze, lowering his eyesight. He hated to see the faces of those women. He hated to see this. There is nothing that he hated more than seeing the faces of those women. It would depress him. It would make him sad. It would just ruin his day. There is nothing that he hated more than seeing the faces of those women, because he was a righteous person. His eyesight was righteous. His mother knew that, and to make him angry, this is the prayer that she made. How does this compare with us? With us, do you not see so many when they're watching television, changing from one channel to the other, to watch the faces and bodies of those women who are acting like prostitutes, or dancing like prostitutes, or singing like prostitutes, or beautifying zina in so